Donald is not the only Trump back in the White House. From the president's oldest son, Donald Trump Jr., through to his youngest child, Barron. Here's a look at who's who in America's first family.
14-year-old Barron just keeps growing, towering over his 6'3" father as they touch down at the White House.
Donald Trump's youngest son, Barron, grew up in the White House, but he's mostly lived outside of the spotlight. Standing at an astounding 6 feet 7 inches, he is the youngest of the 5 Trump offspring and the only child of President-elect Trump and his wife, Melania.
The youngest of Trump's children is Barron, Trump's only child with his wife, Melania.
Not one with a taste for glamour, Barron Trump prefers a quieter lifestyle. Despite all of this, there's no way he'll take disrespect because of his pride as his father's son. Being rejected by a racist flight attendant, you'll be surprised by what he did next. Keep watching till the end, because you do not want to miss this. Shortly after Donald tied the knot with his wife, Melania Trump, in 2005, the couple learned they were expecting a baby. Barron was born on March 20, 2006, becoming Donald's 5th child and Melania's 1st. Barron spent most of his childhood at his family's lavish penthouse in New York City, while attending prestigious private schools on Manhattan's Upper West Side. When Donald was first elected president and began his term in January 2017, Barron and Melania stayed behind in Manhattan so that he could finish the school year. That summer, he enrolled at St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Maryland and officially moved into the White House with the rest of the family. While Donald's older children, Ivanka, Donald Trump Jr., Eric, and Tiffany, took a more hands-on role in their father's presidency, Barron's privacy was heavily guarded. After graduating from high school in May 2024, Barron enrolled at New York University in September. A source told People earlier in the year that Melania was keeping her son close as he pondered his future plans. Melania will keep her hand on Barron's future just as much going forward as she has throughout his early and current school years, the insider said. He is her world. She is proud of him, and she is the primary decision-maker on Barron and his future. Amid his father's 2024 presidential campaign, Barron continued to largely stay out of the spotlight. He declined an opportunity to serve as an at-large delegate for Florida at the Republican National Convention.
The 18-year-old was picked by the Republican Party of Florida as one of the state's at-large delegates to the Republican National Convention,
citing prior commitments in a statement made by his mother, though he did attend his first campaign rally in support of his father in July. After Donald defeated Vice President Kamala Harris to win the presidential election, Barron also appeared on stage for his father's victory speech, during which the president-elect expressed his gratitude for his children. Barron Trump stepped into the exclusive first-class lounge, his tall frame carrying an air of quiet confidence. The soft hum of conversation filled the space as travelers sipped champagne, waiting for their luxury flights. The scent of fresh espresso mixed with the subtle aroma of polished leather seats created an air of opulence. Barron, dressed in a simple yet elegant hoodie, designer jeans, and sneakers, didn't seem out of place to those who knew him. But to one particular flight attendant, appearances meant everything. As he approached the boarding gate, he handed over his ticket, expecting nothing more than a polite nod before stepping onto the plane. Instead, the flight attendant, a middle-aged woman with sharp features and a disapproving expression, gave him a once-over, her eyes narrowing slightly before flicking to his ticket. "I'm sorry, sir," she said, her tone clipped. "There seems to be a mistake. This section is for first-class passengers only." Her words were polite on the surface, but the condescension was unmistakable. Barron, unfazed, glanced at his ticket and nodded politely. "Yes, that's correct. This is my seat." He held out the pass, the golden lettering of first class clearly visible. Yet the woman barely glanced at it. Instead, she leaned in slightly, lowering her voice as if discussing something improper. "Sir, we have the right to refuse service to anyone. Perhaps economy class would be a better fit for you." A ripple of murmurs spread through the nearby passengers. Some watched with curiosity, others with barely concealed amusement. Barron could feel the weight of their stares, but he remained composed. He had been taught from an early age that true power didn't come from raising your voice. It came from knowing exactly who you were and letting your actions speak for themselves. He studied the flight attendant, noticing the slight smirk playing at the corners of her mouth, as if she expected him to argue, to lash out, to prove her point. Instead, he simply smiled. "All right," he said, his voice calm. "Thank you for your time." Without another word, he turned away, leaving the flight attendant momentarily stunned. She had expected resistance, perhaps a scene. Instead, Barron had walked away as if her judgment meant nothing to him. But what she didn't realize was that this wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning. As Barron exited the airport, the incident played over in his mind, not with anger, but with a quiet determination. He wasn't just another passenger. He wasn't someone who had to prove his worth to anyone. But he also wasn't the kind of person to let things slide when they needed to be addressed. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Find out who owns this airline," he said, his voice steady, "and set up a meeting." Growing up, Barron attended numerous prestigious schools. While living in New York City, he was enrolled at Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School on Manhattan's Upper West Side. After Donald began his presidential term on January 2017, Barron remained in NYC, finishing out the school year.
After his father's inauguration in January 2017 so that he could finish out his school year in New York.
During Barron's final year at Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School, he took his entire fifth grade class on a trip to Washington. A group of about 80 students joined Barron, along with teachers and Secret Service agents, on an excursion to the White House, where they met Barron's father. The group also toured the nation's capital and stayed overnight at a hotel before returning home. Then, on May 2017, it was announced that Barron would be attending St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Potomac, Maryland. Tuition at St. Andrew's cost the Trumps about $40,000 a year. Barron's enrollment marked a departure from the precedent set by previous first families, including the Obamas, Bushes, and Clintons, who sent their children to Sidwell Friends, a private Quaker school located in D.C. and Bethesda, Maryland. Following the end of Donald's presidential term in 2021, it was revealed that Barron would be attending the Oxbridge Academy in Palm Beach, Florida.
President Donald Trump's son, Barron, will be attending Oxbridge Academy in West Palm Beach,
where he graduated with the class of 2024. Barron joined his dad on the campaign trail on July 2024. While in Doral, FLA, Donald noted from the podium that it was his son's first ever rally. "You're pretty popular. He might be more popular than Don and Eric," he said. "So Barron, it's good to have you. He's had such a nice, easy life. Now, it's a little bit changed." Barron has had a pretty sheltered and comfortable life, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't ready to face challenges when they faced him. Next morning, the executives of the airlines were buzzing to know why an impromptu, high-profile meeting had been requested by a name they all knew. If Barron Trump wanted a meeting, people listened. The boardroom, once a place for controlled discussions and careful negotiations, was filled with hushed conversations and speculative glances. The CEO, a man in his late 50s with silver hair and a tailored suit, sat at the head of the table, his fingers steepled. He knew this wasn't just about a customer complaint. This was about something much bigger. Recently speaking on the PBD podcast, Lara Trump, wife of Donald Trump's third son, Eric, praised Barron Trump as really smart and entertaining, highlighting his contribution to the campaign by consistently suggesting new ideas to help secure more votes for President-elect Donald Trump. Lara said, "Barron Trump is so cool. He's like the sleeper. He's kind of stayed out of the spotlight intentionally. Barron makes us all look so little. He's really smart, very entertaining. He's his father's son." There's been many times where Barron will call Trump and say, "Dad, I have an idea of how you can get more votes." He's always throwing out ideas. We have to give Barron some serious credit. The doors swung open and Barron walked in, no longer in the casual attire from the airport. Today, he wore a perfectly tailored navy blue suit, the very image of quiet authority. The executives slightly rose in acknowledgement before settling back into their seats, awaiting his words. He did not waste a minute. "I had an interesting experience with your airline yesterday," he started, voice measured but firm. "One of your flight attendants wouldn't allow me to enter first class. Not because of a mistake, not because of any airline policy, but because she judged me based on how I looked." He paused, allowing that to marinate, watching as the executives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The CEO cleared his throat. "Sir, I assure you, our airline does not condone discrimination in any form. If there was a misunderstanding—" "It wasn't a misunderstanding," Barron interrupted, his tone still calm, but carrying an edge of authority. "It was a choice to assume, a choice to exclude, and a choice that reflects on this airline as a whole." He leaned forward slightly, his gaze unwavering. "I don't believe in simply complaining about problems. I believe in fixing them, which is why I'm here." The room fell silent. The executives expected a lawsuit threat, perhaps a demand for an apology. What they didn't expect was what Barron said next. "I'd like to buy a controlling stake in your airline," he stated simply, as if discussing a minor business deal. The CEO blinked, momentarily caught off guard. "Mr. Trump, that's quite an offer. But acquisitions of this scale—" "I'm not interested in negotiations," Barron interrupted smoothly. "I have the resources, I have the backing, and more importantly, I have the vision to turn this airline into something better." He let his words settle before delivering the final blow. "Unless, of course, you'd rather continue running an airline where customers are judged before they even step on the plane." The tension in the room was palpable. The executives knew what this meant. If they refused, the story would go public. A scandal like this, with a name as powerful as Trump behind it, could cost them millions. The CEO exhaled slowly before nodding. "We'll set up the paperwork." 3 weeks later, the airline was under new management. Barron, true to his word, implemented sweeping changes, not just in policies, but in company culture. Employees underwent new training, ensuring that every passenger was treated with respect, regardless of appearance. But Barron wasn't done yet. Donald Trump's last-born, Barron Trump, may have been shielded from the public eye during his childhood, but behind closed doors, his life is nothing short of luxury. The former POTUS's youngest son is gearing up for the next chapter in his life, with his imminent graduation from high school. On the same day he finalized the deal, he returned to the airport. This time, he wasn't flying commercial. As he stepped onto the tarmac, a brand-new private jet stood waiting for him. The sleek white exterior gleamed under the sun, the Trump name displayed proudly on the side. He took his time boarding, running a hand over the luxurious leather seats and the polished wooden accents. This wasn't just any jet. This was his jet. A reminder that no one, Not even a flight attendant with misplaced judgment could dictate where he belonged. As he settled into his seat, he glanced out the window, his mind briefly returning to that moment at the boarding gate. The flight attendant who had turned him away would eventually learn of what had happened. She would realize that the young man she had dismissed wasn't just another passenger. He was now the owner of the very airline she worked for. And though Barron would never seek revenge, he had ensured that no one else would experience what he had. Do you think the flight attendant got what she deserved? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content like this.